Come in.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee to order for Monday, March 3rd, 2025. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 3rd meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee. If maybe Mr. Parati could turn down the volume a little bit so we don't have so much back feed. Thank you very much.
It's on the TV.
As a reminder, this meeting is being videotaped for rebroadcast on Dartmouth Community TV channels 9 on the following days, Wednesday and Thursday at 5 p.m., Friday at 6 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. Dartmouth Community Television channels 18 on the following days, Monday and Saturday at 12 p.m. and Thursday at 3 p.m. And as always, we thank Mr. Parati and his crew with Dartmouth High School Media for videotaping our meetings. Could I have a roll call, please, Ms. Gentner?
Kathleen Amaral. John Nunes.
Yep.
Mary Beckwith.
Here.
Bess Coughlin. Here. Chris Oliver.
Here. Thank you. And Mrs. Amaral could not be in attendance at tonight's meeting. She will be watching from home or watching the rebroadcast of it. So with that, at this time, we have allotted 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak on any of tonight's agenda items. For public comment, we ask you to please keep your comments brief, state your name, and just approach the podium if you are interested in speaking during public comment.
Good evening. Nathan Silva. If you can imagine, I want to talk about the budget. And what I want to do is encourage you to vote against the draft budget that was presented at the last school committee meeting. And there's a number of reasons why, so I gave myself a little list so I didn't forget anything. But first reason is it violates the town's own financial policies to spend one-time funds on reoccurring operating expenses, right? And I personally wouldn't have a problem in doing that if that was truly to bridge a gap, but this is a bridge to nowhere. There's no plan in place to what we're going to do when that money runs out. So until we have a plan in place at the town level as to what we're going to do when that money runs out, I don't think it's wise to spend that money on operating expenses. Number two, it's going to result in further increases to our average class size, which we are already above the state average in terms of what our class sizes are in Dartmouth. And as I said at the last meeting, my daughter's class size increased by 33%. What I'd personally prefer to see is if we have to, for space reasons or other reasons, reduce teacher counts and increase class sizes, there should be teachers' assistant positions filtering in to help with that burden, because there's a tangible difference in my daughter's education experience this year versus last year with that increase in class size. Number three, we shouldn't have to pick and choose between meeting the needs of our students and standard classroom education, right? We shouldn't have to pick and choose and shift resources from one area of the schools to another area of the schools. We should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And number four, there's not really much you guys can really do about it, but I'm looking at this on a long-term horizon. My youngest daughter is 3 years old. She has 15 years before she graduates. She crosses the graduation stage. And the way I see it, among the greatest threats to this school department is our ability to attract and retain the next generation of exceptional educators in terms of what we offer for salary and benefits. And this budget doesn't do anything to address that issue. And I think that's a problem, because anyone in the private industry will tell you that the next generation is not like mine, where I've been with the same company for 15 years, right? But I have new hires that come to work for me for 6 months to a year until the next shiny job offer comes around, and they are out the door chasing the money. And whether we agree with that approach to life or not, that's the reality of the current job market. And if we don't get competitive, I fear what the school department will look like in 15 years as my youngest daughter is crossing the graduation stage. And finally, over the years, anytime when the town has been in financial peril, we look to the school department, the largest line item in the budget, to absorb those pressures, right? So we've incrementally, over the course of decades, have cut the school department so that it doesn't necessarily reflect the school department that I grew up in. It shouldn't be the same school department I grew up in, but we have always requested the schools to bear the burden of the town's pressures. And I think that when we say the schools, what we're really talking about is the one sole customer of the school department, and that's the children of this town. And they shouldn't be the ones carrying the full load of the town's financial pressures. So that's all I have today. Thank you for your time. I'm going to catch the rest of your meeting on YouTube because I'm going to go down the hall and watch the girls' game. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mrs. Silla. Anyone else wishing to speak on any of tonight's agenda items? All right, we'll take that as a no, and we're going to continue right along. Next up would be the approval of minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the regular session minutes of February 10th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Ms. Coughlin. On the motion, any further discussion?
No.
Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Next up, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes of February 10th, 2025.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, and that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is completed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Ms. Beckworth. On the motion, any further discussion? Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Moving right along, we have the spotlight on kids this evening. Joseph DeMello Elementary School. Always excited for these presentations. Dr. Saba McGuire.
I can see Mrs. Correa headed right up, right, Correa. So we're excited to hear what you're going to be highlighting with us this evening. And I can see from the presentation that it's jam-packed. And so you have quite a bit to share with us. So we're going to turn it right over to you.
Thank you. When I drove up and saw every spot in the lot filled today, I was like, go DeMello. Like, we put it in the FYI, but we did not think that we would draw this much of a crowd. And I learned that it's the girls' basketball big game tonight. So I'm a little disappointed in that. And we do have students who are amassing in the hallways, and we hope that they will get here. I think there was a problem parking. Mrs. Thomas said it's kind of tough out there. So hopefully I can fill you in on all things DeMello before we get to the student presentations, which will happen at the end. So we are here to put the spotlight on the kids of DeMello School. And I will start with, it's been quite a start to the school year. It's been quite 6 months. So first of all, thank you all for allowing us this opportunity to come and spotlight our kids. And Mr. Hill and I are so excited to talk to you tonight. But before we hand things over to our staff and our students who will be presenting, I just want to begin our presentation by spotlighting a big and exciting addition to our school this year. So at DeMello, we affectionately refer to our primary wing, the wing where our youngest learners are housed for their time in first and second grade, largely at DeMello School, as Little Land. And our first graders and second graders have been in Little Land. Little Land has been a thing for about 27 plus years, as long as I've been involved with DeMello School. But last fall, Little Land became the new home to the 3 kindergartens that were previously housed at the Cushman School. So for the first time in 17 years, DeMello School welcomed 60 very intelligent, very creative, very small 5-year-olds to our school family. And Mr. Hill and I could probably take the entirety of this meeting to tell you about all the things that we've learned over the past months. But what I want to highlight here are a couple of things that we've discovered about Kay that I think are just really notable. So we all know that teaching requires enthusiasm, patience, and love, no matter the age of the students in front of you. However, kindergarten requires an abundance of these things in a way that I think you have to witness firsthand to understand and appreciate. When I was a teacher at DeMello School, we did have 3 kindergartens back when I started in 1998. I was in 5th grade. I don't remember, honestly, much about the kindergartens there other than my daughter, who's 28 today, going through kindergarten in Little Land. Even my time in administration in another district, I had kindergarten in my building, but this, I think, is honestly the first time that I've been immersed in kindergarten. And I think it's been a little bit since Mr. Hill, a former kindergarten teacher, has been this immersed in kindergarten. So, you know, we really have seen a lot, and I think we appreciate so much more about this grade level now that we've had 6 months to really wrap our brains around it. So we believe that roughly 1/3 of our K students came to us from a preschool program. So that means for most of our kindergarten kiddos, the first day of kindergarten at DeMello School was their first day in a learning environment, really, a formal learning or school setting. You can imagine how exciting, but also how challenging and overwhelming and even chaotic that can be for these littles. So enter Mrs. Condon, Mrs. Cam, and Mrs. Sylvia, our kindergarten teachers, who are not here with us tonight, but I have to sing their praises because with their abundance of enthusiasm, patience, and love, they got right down to business, to the business of cultivating their classrooms into what has become these unique and vibrant learning environments where friendships are forming and kind of curiosity is growing. It's thriving, and it's been the most amazing thing to watch. And we know that they made it look easy. We know that this isn't easy because, again, we've immersed ourselves in kindergarten. We've seen it all. And we know that teaching is never easy, but they certainly made it look effortless over the past 6 months. They are masterful in our eyes, and they are magic. So that's our first big observation. The second discovery that we made is directly linked to the work that our K teachers and staff have put into these students every day over the past 6 months. And that has to do with their rate of learning since the fall. Simply stated, their rate of growth socially, emotionally, and academically is remarkable and like nothing I've seen. I mean, we are used to watching our students grow, right? We look for that in 1 to 5. But the kindergartners just learn so much. They just come in ready, and they just absorb it all. It seems like it's rapid fire going on all the times in their brains. And it's beyond what we may have imagined, even like going back to those first few weeks of school. When their teachers were working with them on coming in and sitting down and working with friends and sitting a little still to listen, to see it now and to see where they are in every area, again, magical. So I just thought you might like that update on our new additions to our school. And now it's time to showcase some of our other wonderful work. And I did it, Mr. Hill. I told Mr. Hill, don't let me forget to advance the slides. So here are just some pictures of our littlest learners in our Come to Little Land or Welcome to Little Land sign that we have above the wing now. So there they are. These are probably December and January pictures, and you can see that they are all doing what they need to do. They're wonderful. So now, I'm on the right slide, thank you. We are just going to move into spotlighting what we've been doing at DeMello School. And our presentation tonight is, as it should be, directly linked to our district's strategic plans. We'll be focusing on areas 1 and 2, teaching and learning. Mr. Hill's going to talk about how we do work with making our schools safe and supportive for all students. So I'm going to start with teaching and learning, and I will advance to the right slide. So what I hope you see in these slides is DeMello students engaged in collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and problem solving. These are 4 key competencies identified in our district's portrait of a learner. And as educators, we know that the key to developing these critical life skills is nurturing a culture of student agency in our schools. At DeMello, this means we're focused constantly on creating learning environments and experiences that foster within our students the belief that they have ownership and control over their learning. We want them to understand that with great teachers by their side, they are able to learn anything in their own time. We also know that at the elementary level, we have 6 short years to build confident readers, writers, mathematicians who are curious and who are confident in their abilities. And too often we hear students label themselves early based on what they perceive as deficits, right? How many times have we heard kids say, I'm not a reader, I can't read, I'm not a writer, or I don't have a math brain. It's all too hard for me. So we do make an effort every day at DeMello School to work with students on this. We want everyone to believe that everyone is a reader, a writer, and a math person. And this brings us to our spotlight on an initiative to develop DeMello students' agency in math. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Jen Fitton, our incredibly talented and brilliant math coach, to tell you all about how everyone at DeMello is a math person. And I could have gone faster through those slides, but here you go.
Hey everyone. So one of the things that we started this year at DeMello was based on a grant that I wrote for DEF last year about how we don't all perceive ourselves as math people. So I want you all to think back to when you were in elementary school. I know for me it was a very long time ago, but I want you to take a sec and think about what your experience was like when you were in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th grade around math. If it was like mine, I did a lot of worksheets, a lot of the teacher standing in front of the room telling me what to do, and I liked that because I was good at it. I could follow rules. I'm still a rule follower, but that's really not the world that we live in. So think, how many times a day do you use math in any way? You use it to make your food. You use it to pay your bills. You use it to go to the gas station. You use math for everything. So then why aren't we math people? We are all math people. So that's what we're trying to get kids to realize at DeMello. So I'll start with the sign that's in the middle of the screen. A couple of years ago, I wrote a grant for DEF, and they gave me a poster machine. So we're using that poster machine a lot this year. And at all of the entrances of DeMello, you'll see a sign that says, Welcome Math Person. If we can read it, maybe we'll believe it. We've also started displaying lots of things that use math every day in the hallway. So every classroom has a sign with Gigi, our ST Math mascot, who's holding a sign that says, Welcome Math Person. And every few months we change that Gigi based on some data that the classes collect. Each Gigi is similar in that their outfit is the same, but the colors and the accessories are different based on what the class votes for. We've also established this initiative of who is a math person. Well, we're all math people. So we created this frame, and I'm going to leave it here tonight. I hope you'll all take a picture with it, and Mrs. Paveo can send me the pictures so we can add them to our hallway. We're taking pictures of kids, staff of all kinds, teachers, ESPs, the custodians, the speech and language pathologists, so that the kids can see we are all math people. So if we are, so are you. We're taking pictures of the kids doing math. What does a math person look like? It looks like all of us. We do math all day. Even if we're reading a book, technically we're doing math. I have a video. I'm hoping it's going to load. To reinforce our mission, we're reminding the kids that math isn't just about calculations. Math is full of many other things that our state standards call math practices. So I went around and I asked the kids, what do mathematicians do? And these are the things they came up with. I hope you can hear it. I'm not a videographer. I need Mr. Parati's class.
Mathematicians communicate. Let's measure and know our kids more than we are. Mathematicians look for patterns. A pattern I see is 6%. Mathematicians share ideas. Mathematicians make observations. I see in the array, this array is 4 by 9. Mathematicians think. I think those are parallels. Mathematicians make mistakes and learn from them. I think $1.19 times 80 is $9.60. I don't think that's correct because I got $98.77. Oh, I made a mistake with my place value, with my decimal point. Mathematicians ask questions. How many squares in this array? Mathematicians notice things. I noticed that there are 9 kids. Mathematicians persevere and don't give up.
This puzzle is so hard.
Puzzle may be hard, but you can keep it. Maybe you should take a break. Okay.
I did it! Woohoo!
So we're really getting the kids to believe that they are mathematicians. So we also created this in the planter hallway of DeMello, a street called Mathematician Street. And I'm changing the activities every few weeks. We made this bulletin board about which type of math person are you. And it's funny, the kids, if I go into a classroom, the kids will say, today I'm a problem solver. Today I'm a helper. They're totally noticing it and really grasping it and incorporating it into their days. We're also using these activities, and I'm changing them every few weeks, so that the kids can think outside the box. It's not necessarily I'm just putting a problem up on the wall. It's looking at things and really working through them. So for Christmas, we had a bunch of Christmas pictures, and the kids had to fill out a little form and put it in a box, and Mrs. Correa and Mr. Hill shared them during the morning announcements. So-and-so put this in. This was their idea. And the kids love hearing their ideas come through on the morning announcements. This month we're working on patterns because patterns are a huge part of our world. So I kind of differentiated it. For kindergarten, I started with a simple pattern, and then for the other kids, they had to figure out these much harder questions. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't think it through before I did it. So I had to have Stephen Wee, who was a senior at the high school, help me with the line 100 because I couldn't figure it out either. But many kids did try, and that's all I really cared about. This last video is a 5th grade class who both teachers and students have truly embraced this I am a math person, and they're coming up with amazing ideas and not giving up. And sometimes when you're a teacher, you want to help kids. You don't want them to struggle. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable with what they're doing. But these 2 teachers in this room have really embraced we're all math people, we're all learners. And even when they're not feeling comfortable, they're giving the kids a chance to feel comfortable. So they just wanted to tell you this.
I'm a math person!
And we're so proud of them. So thank you for having us. I don't know how to make it go to the next slide, though.
It's like we have some children in
I may have picked the wrong.
It does. Quite a few.
Try making it bigger on the green.
Here we go.
No one.
Yeah.
I'm a math!
There you
Perfect.
go.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Fitton. All right. Hello, everybody. Adam Hill, Assistant Principal of DeMello School, and I'm going to, as Mrs. Corey had alluded, I'll be chatting a little bit about Focus Area 2 of our strategic plan of how we keep our school safe and supportive. So, really quick, we have a few nice pictures here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a tiered approach. We take a look at how we can promote social and emotional growth, and we started off really by looking at whole school. We'll focus whole school community meetings targeting at first, the beginning of the school year, focusing in on our core values. So what is that? Is how can we be safe? How can we be responsible? How can we be respectful throughout all aspects of the school? So really want to take that whole school approach and talk about growth a little bit, as Mrs. Correa said, with our kindergartners, to see where our kindergartners are right now versus where they are we're in September. It's amazing to see how they are a part of our community. And it's amazing, too, watching our older students become such great role models for our younger students. But we start with whole school, and then from there, we would take a tiered approach, and we'll focus in more on grade level community meetings. That can take place in the cafeteria. It can take place at lunch. And there, we will focus on more specific topics that are directly related to grade levels. You know, I may do that in the cafeteria. A lot of what we try to do is data-driven. So our teachers collect PBIS Tier 1 data from their classrooms that focus in on our core values of being safe, respectful, and responsible. That comes to me where I can then relay that to our SEL team, which I'll talk a little bit moving forward. And what our outreach social workers will do is that as they are working with classroom teachers to facilitate second step lessons, which is our SEL curriculum, they can embed some of the areas of focus that we are documenting into their lessons. So really kind of take a data-driven approach on that. So in kind of funneling down, we'll take whole schools, and then grade level, we'll also focus in on small group. And I have to give a shout out to not only our teachers who are working with our students, but also our SEL team. So here is just a quick snapshot of some of our outreach social workers. Ms. Frick, who is new to us this year. She's part-time with us, part-time down at Cushman. Mrs. Swainemer, Mr. O'Neill, along with Nurse Rachel and Nurse Kate. We meet with them weekly, and there we talk about really whole school and our individual kiddos, because our focus really is understanding where our kids are coming from, what they need, and what we can do to help support them. So here, with our awesome emojis, for confidentiality reasons, we have a student-initiated lunch group that is just, you know, they find that the cafeteria maybe not be the best environment for them, so that's my office. It's turned into a little lunchroom, and that's used on a daily basis, and it can be used for any grade level. In addition to that, we have lunch bunches that are more small group, SEL focused, facilitated by our outreach social workers. And then, of course, you know, we have our counseling aspect, which is small group or one-on-one. So really focusing in on who our kiddos are and what they need and what we can do to best support them. This last picture, you'll see the change. This is great, and I'll talk a little bit more about student council, but this is working in collaboration with our student council. That is a chain of kindness, which we did around the holidays. Really great activity where the whole school got involved, focusing on different colors, and every student from every classroom put in a thought of what they are, what are they thankful for, right? And I thought it was just really great for them to just, you know, be humble and think about the positives around them. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing that we've done with student council is student council has actually worked on creating skits of conflict resolution and performed in front of our younger students. And any way that anytime you can get students facilitating a message and acting it out, it's very powerful. So that are just some of the big things funneling down to how we individualize support. I'm going to be calling up Ms. Vosi shortly, but in addition to and talking about how we can support kids for what they need, recess isn't always a best fit for our kiddos. So I would like to call up Ms. Vosi to explain Makerspace. And Makerspace, she's put a lot of time and effort into creating an alternate recess for some of our kiddos. So I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. My name is Liz Vosi. I'm the Instructional Technology Specialist at DeMello School, and I'm really excited to talk to you about the progress of our Recess Makerspace. Last year, we were awarded a DEF grant to establish this makerspace as a calm, creative space for kiddos to come as an alternative to traditional recess. It gives them that calm space to be able to create and transition from their morning to afternoon learning. We know that our DeMello students, just like everyone, different students need different things, and some students find outside recess or indoor recess in the winter overstimulating, and sometimes you just have a day where you need to decompress in between that morning and afternoon learning. So we've established this makerspace. It runs for 3 recesses every Tuesday through Friday, and students have had a chance to come in and build with Legos, Magnetiles, Connects, giant blocks. They've been jewelry and fashion designers, and we've explored some 3D design with our 3D printers and our 3D pens. We also are just finishing up our second huge collaborative project. More than 100 DeMello students have worked and contributed to planning, construction, and the interior design of our DeMello cardboard resort. And we brought 2 of the 5 modular pieces with us today to show off, because the pictures just don't do it justice when you really look at the detail that goes into these rooms and the design. And we still have the treehouse playground, lobby, restaurants, and water park back at DeMello School. We would love to invite the members of the school committee to come visit our makerspace anytime, and I'm excited to see what our students will build next. Now, we're going to turn it over.
Turn it over real quick to me. And all right. And now I would like to introduce Mrs. Colbeck to come on up, who heads the 5th grade student council. And again, student council is such a big part of our DeMello community as the students work collectively to help develop a safe and supportive learning environment and school culture. So, with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to you. You're welcome.
Do we do anything here?
I think you might do this.
Okay. I'm a little short. Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for having us. As you can see, we have a very large group here tonight, and they're extremely excited. I'll be a little nervous for the talking part, but extremely excited. Our 4th and 5th grade student council members have been extremely active this year. The groups are large, as you can see. We meet once or twice a week, and if there's a special project, it's every day at lunchtime recess. The kids get together and they make their own minds up about what they want to do, and then we go for it. Their activity is pretty impressive this year because their big motto has been helping people. And we don't only help within our school, but outside of our school in our community. And they're going to tell you a little bit more about that. Our student council does date back quite a few years prior to COVID. And of course, we had a little hiatus there. And of course, now we're back in business and we're strong. And it's so good. We have a lot of leaders here, a lot of role models who want to get involved. And so now I really am going to hand it over to the kids because that's really who makes up this wonderful 4th and 5th grade student council.
Our names are Faith, Callie and Faith, and we are part of the 4th grade student council at DeMello School. We have 37 members this school year and are proud to help both within and outside of our school community.
We would like to share a little bit about our history and some of the projects we are a part of during the school year.
Our names are Max, Desi, Addison, and Grace, and we would like to share with you how the 4th grade student council came about.
Miss Baker and Miss Markey formed student council 11 years ago.
They wanted to give students the opportunity to give back to the DeMello community. There was a break during COVID, but other than that, we have continued to work hard.
Hello, our names are Noah, Rowan, Hunter, and Brady. We would like to tell you some of the projects the Student Council has participated in so far this year.
We have made holiday decorations for the Dartmouth Council on Aging, collected new socks for people in need, and we have run a sports ball drive for gifts to give.
We are also responsible for the bird feeder in our courtyard. In past years, the Student Council has visited the Council on Aging to make crafts and line dance, and we have gone to Gifts to Give in order to volunteer our time.
We hope to be able to continue these traditions this year. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to share.
Okay. Yep, that was our fourth grade council.
Good evening. My name is Paisley Bouchain, and this is Ella Bear, and this is Ella and Zachary. We are going to be talking about what we did for the local community. One of the things we did during Halloween is formed a Halloween parade. We dressed up and made Halloween cards, and then we marched over to Amelia Apartments to visit other residents. Another way that we helped the Dartmouth community is that we held a food drive for the neighbors at the Dartmouth Council on Aging. We had students donate non-perishable goods, and then we restocked their pantry. We also had an idea to make Valentine's Day cards for some of the elderly who live in Solomar. So this is how we designed cards, and then we dropped them off there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler. This is Regan, Mia, and Samantha, and we all participate in the Student Council Bulletin Board. We all feel that when we design our bulletin board, we are not only expressing our creative minds, but sharing our ideas to make one. We also not only work at school or during our recess time, but devote our free time to our bulletin board. Usually we base our bulletin board on the upcoming holidays. For example, this February, we based our bulletin board on Valentine's Day. So far, our designs on the bulletin board have been based on Valentine's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Halloween. On our bulletin board, we include small papers shaped for the holidays that have names of the people in Student Council. Me and Regan both work on making decorations, while Samantha and Mia assemble the bulletin board. Our upcoming theme is for St. Patrick's Day. Most of the time, we like to plan ahead. For example, we all had the idea to add Joey the Wolf and Gigi to our bulletin board. We also put up some Halloween newspapers according to the month.
All right.
Hi, my name is Wyatt, this is Thomas, and this is Miles. We are here to talk about assemblies and skits. One of the assemblies we did was a Unity Day assembly in October. It was about taking a stand against bullying and doing the right thing. One of the skits we did showed an argument about whose turn it was to use the special chair. At the end of the skit, we showed the real way to compromise. The 5th grade student council wrote the skits and also performed them. We know the importance of modeling positive behavior, and this is one way that we can do it.
Hello. I'm here with Catherine and Zachary, and we're going to talk about how the recycling works. So, recyclers have a huge part in the DeMello school community. So today we are telling you about how the recycling works. First, there are 10 kids total on the recycling team. Everyone on the committee goes to Mrs. Colbeck's class to get gloves to keep our hands clean. Then we separate into our sections of the school. There are 3 groups, 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 3. Then we walk around the school grabbing the paper bins and plastic bins and dump them into the town wheelie bins. If the wheelie bins are full, we swap them out for the empty ones. After we empty the classroom bins, we bring them back to the classroom. It is a big job and a dirty one too, but someone has to do with it. Are there any questions?
And this is Mr. Worley.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love it.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and this is Charlotte, Peyton, and Laylee. Helping around the school is very important
and helpful for many teachers. Some things we do are reading, SD math, and organizing classroom tools. Some of the kids are shy, so reading and talking to them helps them come out of their comfort zones and build a relationship with us. The students sometimes need a friend to talk to, and it helps them talk to more classmates. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't believe that just about every student in the student council came to school committee tonight. We knew that the speakers were going to come. We weren't sure if everyone else was going to make it. And I think just about every student that we have came. So thank you all, boys and girls, for coming. That's fabulous. Thank you. And I would be remiss. I'm so thankful to Mrs. Colbeck, who, as the senior DeMello school teacher, got voluntold that she needed to introduce the student councils. But we have teachers that work behind the scenes, and they are working behind the scenes today. In 4th grade, Mrs. Baker and Mrs. Markey work very hard with these students. They're here on the sidelines coaching. Thank you, ladies. And in 5th grade, Mrs. Aguiar works alongside Mrs. Colbeck to get the students working there too. So we couldn't be more proud. We thank parents and students for coming. And we would love to open up to any questions or things that you want to ask of our students or our staff while they're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll start this down over here.
Great presentation all around. Really great speaking skills and leadership were shown here. And I can feel the pride in your school and the real desire to help the school be better and help the younger kids be better. So no questions, just very impressed and appreciate you coming here to present.
Ms. Beckwith.
I got a great sense of what a great place DeMello is, and I want to thank you all for coming out tonight on such a cold night to share with us. We so appreciate it because we're always working for you, but we don't always get to see you, so it's great to see you. And I will definitely be over to see that makerspace. Please. So I'll be in touch. Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Nunes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My congratulations to the students. Wonderful presentation to the faculty and staff. I'm blown away the way these young men and women, our future leaders, got up here and spoke without any trepidation or concerns or anything of that nature. Very clear, very articulate. Parents, guardians, grandparents should be very proud of them. They did a wonderful job. I'm very, very impressed. And yeah,
we're impressed
thank you.
Every day. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. And just what a turnout. There must be something very special going on over at DeMello School. How many students here are proud and excited to be DeMello School students?
All right.
All over there.
I will just say that you all did a fabulous job. It was great seeing some of the things going on at DeMello and the student council represented here this evening. And thank you all for coming out. You did such a great job. All of you that came up to the microphone and spoke, and even those of you that came along and just, for moral support. So thank you, parents, caregivers, for taking the time to bring your students out here. We certainly appreciate it. And I'm just going to turn it over to Dr.
Yes.
Saba McGuire, our superintendent.
I have to say, I was at the DeMello School today, just today, walking through classrooms, and the energy and the sense of school spirit that we saw here this evening was absolutely on display while I was at the school today. So when you look at those pictures, please know for all the folks here, and thank you so much for all of you folks coming out. And I understand parking was at a premium, so we're happy that you were able to make your way in, but that you can be confident that the photos that you're seeing are the experiences that the children at the DeMello School are having. And I have to say, personally and professionally, I have so much confidence in our future, because to hear you as student council members come up and be so focused on the things that are so important in society, it gives us all hope. And we all know that we have our future leaders sitting in this room right here. And how lucky are we to know? And it gives us all just a sense of pride in the Dartmouth schools and pride in all of you. So please bring that spirit with you wherever you go, because it has impact and you're inspiring all of us. So thank you, folks, for coming out tonight. I know, again, not easy to come out on a cold night and find parking spaces, but please, peek in on the basketball game while you're here. Apparently, they might be up by a few points. And I just want to say I could hear the energy outside in the hallway before you came in. And so there was, we were looking forward to having that energy in with us as well. So thank you so much, Mrs. Correa. And for the folks, the teachers, doing this work at the school level, how important is this? And you can see it. Yes, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Oh, you don't want to stay for school committee?
You are all more than welcome to stick around and listen to the rest of our meeting, but we certainly understand that you have places to be, basketball games to see. So have a wonderful night, everyone. Give them a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
What?
Somehow I don't think we're going to catch him.
No. No.
It's makerspace. Those are amazing.
I know. Those are really detailed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh. It is funny. They're just all so different. So different. Tell me we don't have diversity.
Yeah.
Tell me it's not something. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, John.
Take your time.
Lemons.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Hold on, are we good?
Dartmouth has committed so few fouls. That's just the first trip for 2 free throws all night long for the Blue Devils. The only other free throw was that and one by Maya Keenan. 3 is no good. Kicks off and a foul
All right,
coming.
and I think we're just about ready to move along. It seems like the crowds have
dissipated.
Yes. Next up, we would typically have our student representative report. However, they are not with us this evening, so we're going to move over to the next item, which is a consent agenda. And Dr. Saba McGuire is recommending approval of the Dartmouth High School Youth and Government Club to attend the Model Government Conference in Boston this April of 2025. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think, again, another example of opportunities for our students to get involved in government and give us sort of, exactly what we just witnessed. Give them opportunities to have those experiences. So important.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion?
Have a good time and learn.
That's right. Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously 4-0. All right, moving right along to old business. Proposed FY26 budget. Some further discussion. Shall I turn it right over to Mr. Kiley?
Yeah,
or
I'm
Dr.
just,
Saban?
yeah, I'm going to lead it off just for a
Absolutely.
minute because I just want to connect back to some conversations that I've been involved with recently around school choice funds. And what I've heard and come to learn over the past 2 years, really almost, that I've been here in Dartmouth, is that there seems to be continued misunderstanding around school choice funds and the reliance of the district on this money to fund positions. And so one thing that's important is that we acknowledge that there has been conversation about initially utilizing ESSER funds for positions. And I think that that's been some of the sort of debate about why did that happen. Well, I think it's important to note that when those decisions were made, we, along with the rest of the world, when you think about the impact of that statement, the rest of the world, we were truly in uncharted territory at that point. These funded positions, by all accounts and from what I've learned, were necessary at the time. They were deemed necessary. The folks at the table had multiple conversations. They were certainly paying attention to what was going on at the national level, at the state level, and most importantly, at the local level. So to question how or those decisions were made at the time at this point is just, it's truly just unfair. Decisions were made in the best interest of staff and students. There is no doubt about that. So now we have these positions, and now we are in school full time, and we find out that these positions are actually critical to us every day. They're important positions in schools, and you saw some of that this evening. You saw some of those people who occupy those positions, most importantly. That's what you witnessed. That's what you just heard the DeMello folks talk about, particularly when you heard about social emotional learning and you saw the team of people that Mr. Hill shared with you. So what are we going to do now? That's the important question that we all have. We decided to use school choice funds to finance staff positions. This we know, and I know we've heard this, and I know it's a broken record, but this was initially necessary due to the expiration of ESSER funds. And that's the simple statement. That's the simple fact. That's a reality. These positions were originally some of them in the operational budget, right? And again, have previously meaning the school choice funds supported educational programs and personnel. So then the federal funding ran out. Yes, we did know that that was going to happen. The district faced an immediate budget gap and was not yet prepared to request an override from the town. We were not in that position at that time. We were literally grappling with the challenge in the moment. At that time, the school department was not asking for an override. At no time did the school department or school committee come forward and propose an override. We had discussions about an override, but we didn't ask for it. School choice funds were used as a short-term solution to bridge the gap and maintain those essential staffing levels without disrupting student services. Remember, schools are constantly responding to the changing policies, the guidance, and funding, and as we all know, at that time, you couldn't have more rapid change. I mean, we were pivoting by the day and sometimes by the hour. And we also know that this approach is not sustainable in the long run, and the school committee knows that more than anyone. School choice revenue is not a guaranteed or fixed funding source. It fluctuates annually, and it's based on enrollment needs. And it could, as we all know, and we've said here multiple times, could disappear entirely. In the past, pre-pandemic and pandemic recovery, these funds were used to support one-time costs. So pre-pandemic. That's how those funds were used, such as curriculum updates, technology purchases, and facility improvements, rather than the expenses that they're covering now. Shifting these school choice funds to recurring personnel costs create a structural deficit. We are aware of that, and we have been saying that since I got here. Again, my second year here, and the message has not changed. It's been very clear. By FY28, we know what the projected shortfall is, and that has been widely shared. Now, this isn't an issue. This isn't us trying to create a sky is falling narrative, because that's not the case right now. We have these school choice funds. We're looking at using them wisely to continue to support our schools in the best way possible, but we need to ensure long-term stability. And we know that that is coming close, and we don't want to wait until the last minute to be going to the town to look for additional funding. And that is why we continue to discuss school choice money and how we're using it, and to seek guidance from the town, from the committee, on how we're going to eventually bridge this gap. Because without bridging the gap, eventually, yes, we're not, as I said, it's not sky is falling, but eventually this is going to catch up to us, and we're sharing this widely, and we just really need the community to understand that the way school choice funds are being used are in the best interest of the students and the community in Dartmouth. And I know Mr. Kiley is going to discuss some specific questions that you had at our last budget meeting, and I think and hope that it will really clarify what this budget represents for us.
Thank you, Dr. Saban-McGuire. So in the spirit of addressing some of the questions that you had at the last school committee meeting and really tying those things into what Dr. Saban-McGuire just spoke about, we have a few slides here that I'd like to present. This slide, Realigned Staff and Resources, was in our budget presentation at the last school committee meeting. But I want to be sure that we understand that, yes, in this budget proposal, we are taking positions that currently exist and realigning them and asking for support in other areas. And we really want to show you what that looks like in practice. So the next slide, there's a lot on this slide, but this is our fiscal year 26 projected enrollment and class size by grade by school. Also included on this slide are fiscal year 25 enrollment and class size numbers. A couple of things to note. You'll notice a projected decline in enrollment. We do our own work on this. We also have NEASC.
NASDAQ.
NASDAQ. Do the, I had NEASC on the brain from earlier today. Do a enrollment projection for us, and it certainly looks like we'll have a relatively low incoming class into the elementary in kindergarten for next year. So at the elementary level, we're projecting to be down about 5%. You'll notice that in both the elementary totals and in the DeMello and Quinn School, there's an indication of a reduction of class sections. So for instance, there's 1 class section at DeMello and 3 at the Quinn School that we are projecting will be reduced for next year. So back to the first slide, that is the first line on here. Elementary teachers for FTEs that we are realigning. Similarly, the middle school has a reduction of two staff for next year. I'd like to remind you that we're going to do everything we can to limit the impact to attrition. Right now, of these positions, we have one position that is currently not through attrition. The rest are all through attrition. So retirements or other changes in staff. So there's been a question. A member of the Finance Committee asked us about what our plan was in regards to declining enrollment, and this is what our plan is. Addressing class size, trying to maintain a reasonable class size. You'll notice towards the right-hand side there where we can compare the class size for fiscal year 26 projected and fiscal year 25 actual. At the elementary level, we maintain a class size of 21 on average. At the middle school level, we have a slight increase from 19 to 20 on average. And the high school is a much more complicated piece because there's such a variety of course selections. We'd certainly be happy to provide you with more information about that if you'd like in the future. So we thought it was important because I think proposing this realignment, it's hard to visualize what that looks like in practice and what the impact is going to be on each student. And so I hope that this helps depict that and hopefully helps you understand that we are attempting to maintain a reasonable and appropriate class size while still utilizing our resources in a different way to address our needs. Before I move to sort of the next topic, are there any questions about this information?
Can I just add that in just adding to what Mr. Kiley said about addressing declining enrollment, we also took some steps to do that last year, if you remember. And that was part of the reason that we were able to move the Cushman students, the kindergarten, to the DeMello. And you can see that in doing that, we were still able to protect class size somewhat. I mean, it's not perfect, but that was an intentional move to put our kindergartners where they should be, which is in their home school, and at the same time to respond to declining enrollment.
So Dr. Saban-McGuire, just to be clear, because of that move from Cushman to DeMello with kindergarten, did we reduce 2 FTEs?
Last year.
Yes.
Last year, was it 2?
Yep. Actually, I think it was 3.
Right. It was 3 last year.
So we reduced our teaching staff at DeMello by 3 FTEs. Because this is a just real good important point to make when we're having these conversations with the Finance Committee, with the Select Board, and other folks in town, is that, yes, we've already reduced last year, we're continuing to reduce.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Kiley's just checking to make sure we have the right
and
FTE.
I don't need an absolute answer right now, but. That's all right. That was my only question.
That's a great question. And we definitely reduced, and it was in response to declining enrollment. And it was the right thing to move the kindergarten to the DeMello. And you could hear that this evening. You could hear that was a decision that makes sense.
I mean, you move them all into, they get accustomed to that building and they're going through it type of deal versus coming in as freshmen and starting all over again to get used to a new school.
Last year we realigned resources as well, and really overall had a fairly significant reduction. We had 3 elementary school teachers, 2 teachers at the middle school that were funded through the ESSER grant that we did not continue, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, an elementary specialist teacher. The secretary to the superintendent, and a middle school secretarial position, a part-time position. So all those positions were reductions in last year's budget in response to having to, having no consideration above a 3% increase
Right.
last year.
Yeah.
And then we had very little that we were able to reallocate because of the, the lack of funding. So we've gotten ourselves to the point where we're utilizing school choice, which is coming up on my set of slides here,
Right.
to sort of stem the tide.
So, Mr. Kiley, with that being said, we still had a net loss after the
yes.
reallocation of staff. There was still a net loss, correct?
Significant, yes.
So I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but that may be helpful when are you presenting to the finance committee this week?
Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday night.
I don't know if you have the time, but that may be helpful to put that data into a slide or handout as to what we've done in previous years.
Yeah. Will do. Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I agree. So there's a lot on this slide as well, but this is the slide that Mrs. Amaral spoke about in terms of things that we weren't able to fund in our budget process. I guess what I think is important about this slide, maybe most important, is that I don't really consider this to be an exhaustive list. I think that we are realistic, our administrators are realistic, and understand the general limitations that we face in the budget process, particularly in recent budget processes. So I would say that if we were to ask our administrators, well, is this all you would need? I guarantee that they would say no. But they're also, again, being realistic and practical and not proposing a great deal of resources that we can't realistically expect to receive. That said, there are quite a bit on this list. It's 1.3 million. I've included the school choice positions, former ESSER positions, on that list, because I think it's important to not lose sight that, those are really not funded in the budget. We're making do and using the reserves to get by in the short term. Any questions about this slide?
Chris? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, these are not quote-unquote pie in the sky and, wish lists and that type of, these are, for discussion purposes, are really necessary in our system.
They are.
When you look at, the ESPs, the behavioral specialists, the guidance counselors, the school nurse, the TAs, and so it's everything that helps make, the student better, and our system and our district that much better. So,
I agree. So.
Yeah, certainly a good point, Mr. Nunes. It paints a picture when you look at a number of these positions of support services.
Yeah.
There's a number of support services positions, and that just speaks to the high needs that our student population has.
So also in terms of class size, we talk about class size, but we don't talk about like how many teachers assistants or how many ESPs we have in those classes, because if you just have a teacher with 23 children, that could be overwhelming, and there could be harder for the children to learn. But if you have support services or teachers assistants, so do we have a breakdown? Are we increasing the number of assistants? No. But we do have assistants or teaching professionals with specific.
We do have ESPs, right?
Okay.
You mean, that's what you mean, right? Education support personnel?
Yes.
Right. We do have those folks.
But they
in
fall
our
into
schools.
different categories.
We don't have an ESP for every classroom, if that's what you are asking. We do not.
Okay.
I will bring you back to this slide from the presentation at the last school committee meeting, in which we did speak about Dartmouth's ESP count per 100 students is 1.1 below the state average. So we, per 100 students, we have 1.1 less ESPs than the state average.
Okay. So it would be good to have more of this.
Yes, it would. It would. I think, that additional supports for students are part of what we're missing when we're 270th of 322 districts. I think, our class size is not very high. It's not very low either, but I think the additional supports are where, at times, we're lacking in terms of our funding level being low.
It's also usually the conversation that we're having when our school leaders are calling, looking for support. It's usually that they're looking to have an additional ESP added to their building. And that happens throughout the course of the school year, depending on what the particular needs of a student who may enter the school or may have been in the school and require some additional supports.
And I think our ability to respond to those needs that may not have, we may not have had a full understanding of at the time of the last budget is very limited. We just don't have wiggle room at our funding levels. So,
anyone else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, speaking of school choice, this slide is essentially there's one column different than what was presented previously, and a finance committee member asked about what we had spent school choice funds on previously. So the column on the left is everything that we've spent through the school choice revolving fund since its inception in 2017. I would say that the things that the largest thing on that list is technology, and we were served well by positioning ourselves and Mr. Galashaw being ready when the pandemic happened to go to one-to-one, and we never would have been prepared to do that without that utilizing school choice funds for that purpose. We supported renovations to Dartmouth Memorial Stadium. We had not used school choice for staff, and for obvious reasons, we didn't want to approach it that way until now we have to. So anyway, it's informational. I think that one other important point was that during the pandemic, we received a significant amount of grant money relating to technology resources, and as a result, saved school choice funds. So that's part of what has, led us to have some reserves, which thankfully we do, because we're using them right now to survive, really.
But apparently there are people in the community that feel that we were tucking that money away. And so, but look what we're doing with it now.
Right.
Keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I'm not.
Go ahead, Mr. Dudes.
Because understand something, and Mr. Kiley just mentioned it, okay? Two things. Number one, we had the ESSER funds, and we had a number of grant funds. That's, with all due respect, that's free money, okay? So that's what we used first, and that's the smart way to business and to budget. If you have free money and money that's coming in, you know, that type of deal, you use the free money first type of deal. That's the right way to go about it. Hence, the buildup of school choice and others. So, thank God we did it that way. We had it to use, because now it's bailing us out. So.
And those grant funds had very specific expiration dates.
Right.
And uses.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we did a good job of using those funds.
Yes.
100% agree.
100%.
So the other things that were included in your school committee packet, I'm not projecting up here. It was informational, but they were to address questions regarding the human resources proposal.
Yep.
And there's some analysis that we provided in your packet and the team facilitator proposal. So we're prepared if you have any questions on either of those, we'd be happy to discuss those.
So, does anyone want to
Well,
go first? Go ahead, Ms.
I just have to
Ms.
say I was astounded at the range of how folks do human resources across these school districts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is not a model that is consistent, and a lot of it doesn't make sense. So I don't know how you have a district our size without a professional HR person. I don't get it.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say our town has an HR person, and that's not the schools, that's the town. And yet the schools are 57% of the budget, and we have more personnel. And for some reason, we don't need an HR person. I think the fact that we are so big, we need one.
Did you have a question, Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, I did, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I mean, if you look at this list, and thank you very much, Mr. Kiley, for this, but you've got 7 in the Dart districts down to Somerset, Berkeley. If you go through, there are 7 of these that are regional schools, okay? Triton, Blackstone, Dudley, Charlton, I'm assuming is Shepherd Hill, Ashburnham, Dayton, Rehoboth, Freetown, Lakeville, Somerset, Berkeley, and then you've got the vocational schools in Bristol, Aggie. So, some of these, the bigger schools. So, it's a needed position, in my opinion.
So, is it okay if I just jump in a little bit in knowing and sort of, again, having been here 2 years now, I think you remember that last year, this was a position that we did put forward, and in recognition of the challenge of the budget, we withdrew it. Things haven't really changed, and so that's why we, again, put it forward. At the same time, I think that, and we have a lot of internal conversations about this, I can't not acknowledge the work that Kate Gentner does every day, and the way that we all work together to really be the HR office. And I'm not saying that we're not capable of doing that, because I do think we are. I think we do really good work as a team, and I think it's because of the strength of our team that we are able to to do the best that we can. And I, again, commend, and I know Kate doesn't want me to do that, but I am anyway. I'm sure that she's rolling her eyes at me, even though you can't see it. But it's because of really her expertise and attention to detail, and the work that she's doing is really, it's just incredible. And we couldn't not have an HR office if we didn't have Kate in the position that she's in and her level of attention to detail. Again, in recognition of another challenging budget, we, as I said, have had internal conversations, and some of the things that we're looking at doing is automating some of our HR functions, because we really are paper-driven. And we are in talks with a group that does some of this work, and Kate has been working closely not only with Jonathan, but really all of us to learn what kinds of things we can do to reduce sort of the over-reliance that we as a school district have on really a paper-driven system, whether it's keeping track of folks and their credits, where they are on the salary scale, keeping track of the submission of professional development, of all of those sort of HR things that I'm talking about that aren't related to personnel, because that's another whole story, right? So there are two parts to HR. But at this point, I think what we're thinking is we want to try those automated support services and see how that impacts our operation. And we think it might be best to think about holding off putting that position forward as Mr. Nunes is shaking his head, but I just want to put it out there that it is something that we have talked about, and we recognize the challenge of talking about eliminating positions and bringing in positions. And we want to be well positioned to do that, and we want our school community to understand the need we have, and at the same time respect some of the challenges that you as a committee are facing and that we're facing as well.
When I met with Dr. Saba McGuire for our biweekly meetings in preparation, and we had this conversation, I was certainly a little hesitant after having this conversation about taking this out of the budget, because I think it is such a big need. But I think it does show very much, that the school department and this administration wants to work together with the town as much as possible when we're proposing eliminating positions and then proposing others, and then with some of the systems that they're going to try to put in place, see if maybe those will work. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I certainly think ultimately sooner or later this is going to possibly, absolutely be a position that is needed.
And I guess I just add to that, because I left the personnel part out of it. We do, and I'm not saying that we have significant personnel issues, because we don't. But what I am suggesting is that we do spend time on personnel. Of course you do in a district this size. And we also have new legal advice, right? We have a new legal firm and we don't yet know what the impact of that. I mean, we're monitoring it, so we want to kind of see what that cost is, so that we're able to clearly define what a cost savings an HR person would be for the district. And we're not in any way, I don't want you to think being martyrs, because we're not, because that's a position that I do think is needed. And I also want to be strategic with the committee about when we bring that position in, because it is a needed position.
Mr. Nunes?
Thank you. I'm trying to be good, I really am. But I think this is a position that is very much needed. As big a district as we are, I think this is a position that we need. I, for one, and unfortunately we've put the cards on the table, but I would prefer to wait and see what comes down from town hall as to what we're gonna, what the bottom line is gonna be. And, you know, if, you know, it's, you know, that amount of money short type of deal, then fine, we can adjust the budget that way. But at the moment, I, for one, you know, leave it in the budget for now, and let's see exactly how everything flows out and comes out with all the meetings that Mr. Kiley and Dr. Sable McGuire are having with Town Hall. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I concur with that. I do believe it's a needed position. And maybe the town can see that too, since they have their own HR person. And maybe there is the money for it.
Does that town HR person serve all other departments?
Yes.
Yes.
Again, I'm having trouble understanding.
So I think the consensus of this committee is to leave that position on the table right now.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your support.
No problem. No problem.
Is there anything else, Mr. Kiley?
Just wanted to fill you in that obviously we have the finance committee Thursday at 5 at Town Hall. We will have a budget hearing on March 24th here. The school committee budget hearing, so we'll be advertising that appropriately, and be an opportunity for people to speak about the budget, and for you to further consider the budget. And then at the following school committee meeting, I'll ask that you vote on a budget proposal. So
Okay.
that's what's coming up on that front.
Thank you, Mr. Kiley. Ms. Coughlin?
Yeah, I just want to be clear about how the whole budget thing works. So if, as has been suggested by some people, that the salaries for the 11 full-time employees that are currently on school choice, if we wanted it to be in our regular budget and we put that to the town and the town says no, so then we would, not that this is happening, this is hypothetical, if we said that's what we wanted and we voted on it, then we take it to the town and the town says no, then it goes to town meeting and the town meeting can say no, and then we just have to slash our budget. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
That's pretty accurate. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, the select board and the finance committee would make a recommendation. Like, if you voted a budget with an additional, those, let's say the positions that are in school choice.
Right.
In the budget, you'd have a 7%, 6 point something percent budget increase, which I would assume that the town administration would say, well, I can't help you with that. And then the finance committee and select board would make their recommendations to town meeting, some different recommendation than what we are funded at and, are proposing. And then, we would have to do something else.
So it just seems, I mean, we used school choice last year, and then if we use it this year, we're just putting it off and putting it off. And shouldn't we maybe take one of those positions and put it over there instead of pretending that we're not so over budget, having it more out there?
I see what you're saying.
Because otherwise, when we do run out of school choice funds, we are going to have to ask the town for more money, and all of a sudden it's going to be, well, why do you need 6% more? I mean, I know everybody's listening tonight, as they do every 2 weeks, and they hear this, so it shouldn't be a surprise, but
It will be next year.
Yep, yeah.
I just don't know, should we just push a little? Because it's not going away, as every single person has said.
Well, to your point, and I was going to hold off for another meeting, but I don't know if me personally will vote yes on this budget. I think we need to have, and maybe that can start at the presentation to FinCom, that I want to know that there's some plans in place for the following years. That if we're going to use school choice for FY26, well then, can we at least have some kind of agreement, either verbally
Or written.
or written, preferably,
Written would be better.
Yes.
that there's going to
Something on
be
television.
some kind of cooperation with the other departments in this town, because at the end of the day, we're out of luck come FY28. So I kind of am with Ms. Coughlin on this, to maybe break a couple. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yes.
A couple of those positions. And if there's no interest in entertaining some kind of conversation or agreement or how we're going to handle this deficit that's coming down the road, that I'll say put all 11 positions in there. And then Mr. Nunes can make a motion on the town meeting floor to take it out of free cash.
I don't think that's going to work again.
Just speculation.
That's a viable funding source. That type.
You get my point, though.
I got your point. Absolutely. Here's my concern. Leave this the way it is right now.
Yep.
For discussion purposes, okay? And I mentioned this at the last meeting, okay? Is the fact that if they cut us, 1%, that's $500,000, okay, for discussion purposes, okay? That means at the end of FY26, we're out of money. Okay?
You mean cut us down to 3%?
If in their infinite wisdom, we get cut 1%, pick a number, okay? Or anything.
Yeah.
Between the 4.1 and 3% for discussion purposes, okay? In FY26, we run out of money. At the end of FY26, we basically are going to run out of money because that's $500,000, $550,000, give or take.
Right.
Okay, that we're going to have to use in school, either beat up the budget to find that $500,000, which is not going to be cute, okay? Or use it from school choice, okay? And that in turn takes that deficit, and by the end of FY26, going into 27, we're not going to have any money in school choice to use. That becomes my major concern overall. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm reading this wrong, I'm. No. So, and I have one other thing, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And I just want to piggyback and say thank you to Dr. Sable McGuire about the speech you gave at the beginning of the budget with the ESSER funds and everything else. I mean, you are absolutely correct. They need to go back and read the minutes from our meetings, or go back and look at the DCTV tapes in the archives from when we got the ESSER funds, because we started from day one. The people that were on this committee at the time said from day one, we knew that June 30th of 24, we were going to, and we said it, we were falling off a cliff because
Yes,
we weren't
we
going
did.
we weren't going to have the funds and that. But these were all positions that we needed because of what happened and what our students and our staff went through and everybody went through. So we put these positions on, which was absolutely needed. Again, we used free money from the federal government to do it, but we needed those positions, and that's what we did. And we said it all the time. Probably every meeting that it came up about budgets or something of that nature, there was a comment made by someone on this committee, or maybe multiples, that we knew we were falling off that cliff. But we were willing to do what we needed to do to take care of the students and the staff in this district. So, thank you, Dr. Saber-Maguire, for
Thank you.
reiterating that. Because it, I guess, has fallen on deaf ears for 3.5 years.
So I don't have anything else other than thank you to you both.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate all the documentation. I know that must have taken some time to collect all that data, so thank you to you and your teams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I do appreciate this additional information. It really helps. And I hope it will help down the road for folks to see this. It's in black and white.
Yeah.
Okay. So that concludes our budget discussion. New business. Superintendent's update. Dr.
great.
Saber-Maguire,
I
some
know, this is
good
always,
news.
that's what I was just going to say.
Yes.
Let's talk about some, really great things that are happening, because like I start off by saying, as is the norm, right? So many wonderful things to highlight that are happening every day in the Dartmouth schools. You got to see evidence of that today. Right, tonight, this evening, when you see the students come here with their families and talk about what they're engaged in during the school day, that is the experience that Dartmouth students are having. And that was a really great cross-section of kids that you had here in front of us this evening to see just how widespread that is. That's not a handful of kids. That's a good number of kids. So I mentioned already that I was at the DeMello today, and last week I've been spending time in schools. I spend time on schools, but these are scheduled visits that we pre-plan from the beginning of the year, and I was able to visit many classrooms. And when we're doing that, and we're looking through a specific lens. So for the past week and a half, as we're spending time in schools, we're really talking about what does literacy look like in the classroom. And we have some very specific things that we're looking for, and we're talking about with our leaders, and we're hearing about from our teachers. And when I say that, that's at all levels, high school, middle school, elementary. Tomorrow we're at the Cushman, and I can tell you that there's high-quality teaching and learning happening in the Dartmouth Public Schools, and I can say that with great confidence. I can say that to the public, I can say that to parents, I can say that to teachers, I can say that to students, and I can certainly say that to our committee. And these are classrooms where kids are thriving. Just this past week, I've had an opportunity, along with Mrs. Paveo, to enter into classrooms where our teachers are piloting the new resource that we're launching fully in the fall. And I have to say that we talked with a veteran teacher who's been using this resource, and she couldn't have been any more excited about the work that she was doing with her students. And what we're hearing from our teachers that are invested in this resource, and I'm sure spreading that excitement to their colleagues, is that they're learning right alongside with their students. And so in this particular teacher, classroom, they were studying ancient China, and they had calligraphy going, they had symbols, they had the dimensions of learning that were happening were incredibly complex, and at the same time it really did highlight just how much our kids love to learn. And so with this new resource, and Mrs. Paveo is going to come up in the next few weeks and talk about it, what we're finding and what we're hearing from our teachers is that this is, again, a veteran teacher who's saying, well, this has really had an impact on my approach to teaching, and it has inspired me in some ways that maybe weren't quite anticipated. Again, an excellent teacher to begin with, who's now given that Tier 1 high-quality core resource, and you watch what teachers can do with that resource, because she wasn't relying on that resource word for word. right? She was bringing her own experience and her own knowledge into her classroom to share with her students. And it was really vibrant. And we saw this in a couple of other places as well. So this isn't just a single classroom with a single teacher. We saw this in multiple places. And so when you bring that resource to life, that's when you see the difference that it can make on not only teacher practice, but teacher investment and student learning. So again, classrooms across the district are doing this. As a matter of fact, we're in also a math class, a couple of math classes, but I'm just highlighting a few where we're in a third grade math class, and I had to take a photo of the work that the kids were doing and of the board. And to think about, like, as an elementary teacher, what I saw the kids doing, I think I was probably teaching in 5th grade. So when you introduce those things, those sort of high quality just opportunities to engage in the complexities of math, you heard that today, you heard that this evening. Kids will rise to the occasion, and teachers are seeing the benefit of, again, your investment, by the way, from what I understand, ESSER funds, in bridges. And that was something that you made an investment in, and we're really starting to see the impact that can have on kids and teachers. So and talking to the teachers about it. I get so excited when teachers are excited, because you walk into and they want to tell you all about, what they're doing with their students and the impact that these resources, but again, the resources are only as good as the person who's implementing the resource. And so we rely on our teachers, but I've always said it's our responsibility to give our teachers the resources that they need to do that work with their students. I just will mention I had the opportunity to serve as a mock judge for our robotics students. They did compete this weekend.
One of the teams, 4571, got selected to be the 3rd place alternate team. So you get to pick your team. When you're in the top 3, you get to pick any other team to compete with you as a teammate.
And so one of our teams was selected. And I have to tell you, I understood a lot more this year as a mock judge than I did last year. So I was really happy with that. But the students did a really great job in explaining to sort of me as a layperson what this robot was intended to do and how it sort of came to be. And it's something that they work on all year long alongside their teachers, who do such a great job helping them to prepare. I'll mention Playbook because I think I mentioned it at the last meeting, but this is work that's, again, ongoing. This past week, Tia Rad and Audrey Kirsch hosted the Playbook initiative here, different than the one that I talked to you about last time, but this time they had Old Rochester here, so they had 60 middle school kids here. And so double the fun, and I'll tell you, walking in and seeing those young students, middle schoolers sitting listening to our high school students who I would say were well prepared and able to manage a group of 60 middle schoolers. I'm not sure that I could say that with confidence that they had, but remember that the activities that they're focused on are about empowering our middle schoolers, empowering them to stand up when witnessing issues of hate, discrimination, and bias. That is what the Playbook Initiative focus is. And it has been really successful this year. And the DHS Multicultural Club is 4 members are serving to help support the students, and they are going to be producing a video that I'm sure we'll get to share with you towards the end of the year to highlight the work that they've done this year. And so on Wednesday and Thursday, a different, I know I mentioned world language teachers last time, but again, they're participating in two-day professional development. Again, part of the year-long effort to vertically align world language. Remember, back to our strategic plan, right? And it's right there. It's teaching and learning 1. And thank you so much from Mrs. Coria, who made that direct link to our district strategic plan. And you can see how clearly it's understood by folks in the district. And as far as strategic initiative, teaching learning number 2 is design professional learning opportunities that are relevant and support professional growth. We are in the process right now of establishing a district-wide professional development committee, again, part of our strategic plan. and we're going to be putting out a call to educators to serve on this committee in a capacity that will give them an opportunity to have voice as we plan professional learning for our staff. So that's under teaching and learning. Under budget and capital improvement, we spent quite a bit of time on that tonight, but under HR, which we've put under budget and capital improvement, we need to add to. You know, our search for assistant principals at the Potter and the Quinn and the associate principal have are ongoing. Well, the job ads actually have closed. I'm pleased to say that we do have a number of applicants for all 3 positions, and then I have to share that, again, bittersweet news. Our middle school associate principal, Sarah Dekas, has announced that she will retire at the end of the school year. And I say bittersweet because we're sad to see her go, but at the same time, she already has a trip to Italy planned for September, so that's the bittersweet. But we are certainly grateful for the work that she's done and continues to do in Dartmouth. As I say, we're always looking for monitors, substitute teachers. I know it's shameless plugging, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm pretty sure we need a custodian right now. And so we're going to continue to advocate for folks to go ahead and apply for those positions. Look on School Spring. It's updated on a regular basis. Under family and community engagement, the DHS orchestra, you know, headed to Spain for a February vacation. By all accounts, it was a fantastic experience. Heather Church shared an email with us. I think Mr. Oliver, you were part of that email to families, and it was really impactful to go through just the way that she was able to articulate in the email the experiences that the students had, and the wonderful, like the food, the culture, everything. I mean, it's all in this email. We could forward it to you, and you'll get a pretty good idea of the experiences the students had. And I just have to say this because even though I did run into a group of students who were on the trip, and they were discussing how they were all trapped in an elevator for 30 minutes together. So I can't not mention, you were, yes, and were you in the elevator? Oh, good. I'm so glad. But the students were, I mean, they were discussing it, and I just happened upon the conversation, and they were discussing it in good spirit. And one of the things one of them said, I thought was interesting, was, well, you really find a lot out about a person when you're stuck in an elevator with them for 30 minutes, and apparently it was 11 kids, but still, you know, a memory forever. But under safe and supportive schools, I talked about school visits this past week, and it's about seeing kids in the lunchroom, in the hallways, classroom. Educators have created an environment for our kids where you can tell they're happy to be in our schools. And I share one example of a student who was having, you know, a little bit of a hard time, and I saw a teacher who wasn't even the student's teacher out because the principal pointed it out to me, out talking to that student, getting them calmed down, recentering them so that they could return to the classroom. And I'd also mention that I met with student advisory, the high school students, this past Friday, and I asked them, how, and Mr. Shea is with me, tell me about how you feel about your school. Is this a safe place to be? And unequivocally, every one of them went around the table and talked about what a wonderful place that Dartmouth High School is, and how safe they are here, and how safe they feel in the school, how well supported they are by their educators and their school leaders, and that one of them even expressed that she's a senior and is sad in some ways that you can see the year coming to a close and how fast it actually all goes by. So that's something that we can all celebrate. And that's my report. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I know Mr. Nunes has the band stuff, so I don't want you to think I'm just leaving it out.
No, I know. No problem.
I do not have anything.
Oh, basketball. They won. That's right.
You won?
I just already knew, so it's, you know. What was the score?
I think it was 52 to 45.
52 to 45.
Wow. Good. Excellent.
Do we know when the next game is?
Thursday night.
All right, Thursday night, Duxbury or Whitman Hanson, next on the docket.
Thank you for that update.
All right.
Okay.
Beautiful.
That's good or bad.
Say that, though.
I will turn it right over to Mr. Nunes for his update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing, and I apologize, I meant to bring this up I had it written down, I forgot to bring it up on the budget, Mr. Kiley, with the water break that we had at the Quinn School type of deal. Did we incur a decent amount of costs with that?
We did incur some cost repairing that. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I
we
just-
had an excavator, a vendor,
Yeah.
come in and excavate the area for us and make the repair.
So, I mean, I'm just wondering, that's, I think that classifies like for reserve fund, unforeseen type of deal. So I'd like to see us apply to the Finance Committee for a reserve fund transfer for those costs to be reimbursed. It's just my thought, just that's what that fund is for.
Certainly falls outside of the operating.
Yeah, that type of deal. But back to, in all seriousness, thank you. This past Saturday, we had from 11 o'clock until 8:45, we had 55 groups between color guard and percussion winds go through this school. Great day, big crowds, so it was nice. I don't have our junior varsity score. I couldn't find it, and I forgot to write it down. But our varsity color guard took first place in their class with a 75.1, and our percussion got an 89.6. So that's an 89.6. So those were good scores, for this time of the year, just coming out. This coming Saturday, we're hosting a WGI regional for percussion. Starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the price is $14 for preliminary and $18 for finals, or you can buy both for $24 if you're going to be at both. And, both groups, all the groups compete both in the preliminaries and the finals. Dartmouth is on at 2 o'clock, and then they're back on at 8:18, and then awards will take place after. The one thing I don't know, and I believe it's somewhere around 5 o'clock. The first half is going to end about at 2:45, and then the finals, the preliminaries end then, and then finals will start somewhere around 5 o'clock. So you'll have a couple of hours in between times. So that's what's going on. Our color guard will not be here. It's a percussion event only. Our color guard is back up in Salem for the day. So that's what's going on there. Oh, and we've got high school concerts coming up. We've got the band concert tomorrow night, and then I think next week is chorus and then orchestra on Tuesday and Thursday. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
It's quite a bit. Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Great job to all those groups. Anyone else? All right, next regularly scheduled meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee is for Monday, March 24th at 6 p.m. right here in the Dartmouth High School Library Media Center. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, where an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the school committee's bargaining position. Dartmouth Administrators Association, Dartmouth Educators Association, and AFSCME. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations.
So move.
Second.
And that is not to reconvene, sorry. Not to reconvene. So we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Genther.
John Nunes.
Yes.
Mary Beckwith.
Yes.
Bess Coughlin. Yes. Chris Oliver.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously 4-0. Meeting is adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.